Everton in the end. I think you're seeing the confidence levels grow as the game went on. All the players were wanting to try and get on the ball, and realistically, it should have been more.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been 3 or 4 this game. But the most important thing is that Everton go into the little break that they're going to get now on the back of 2 really strong performances, even more 6 points, and it puts them in a really, really healthy position right now. But I think after our home performances of late, I think this was a much needed confidence booster.
It's nice to just have a comfortable win, and that's about as routine as you get.
Yeah, you don't see many comfortable wins in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Today that was, and it was probably just what Everton needed right now at home. Their home form has probably been the biggest question in terms of the season. Away form spectacular, home form patchy, but I think tonight was a really comfortable, dominating performance from start to finish. Burnley offered nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Burnley weren't their best tonight by any stretch of the imagination. But having said that, other teams have come here, not played too well, and we've still struggled, or maybe even almost dropped a level to match them. Whereas today, we just stayed calm the whole way through.
I think even before Everton scored, you weren't concerned about Burnley hitting Everton. But I think it's, even though you're thinking that, it's still really important to get that first goal. And I think you're seeing the difference in Burnley once that first goal was conceded. Everton started to enjoy more possession. They started to hit Burnley in the right areas. Second half, Burnley go to a back 4. Didn't really suit them, and the game completely opened up. And Everton, you know, the one thing David Moyes, if there's any disappointment tonight, will be the fact that this wasn't 4-0. You know, but I think he'll be in there and he'll be saying well done to everybody, because there was, I'd say, if you look around the team tonight, there was a lot of strong performances. You know, Dwight McNeil was very good. Iliman Ndiaye, you can see the confidence oozing out of him. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, I thought, got better as the game went on. Jessica Gay, solid. Back 4 probably as comfortable as a game that they've had all season. So lots of positives, and if the manager was thinking about taking them to a couple of days in warm training climate, that's the perfect send-off.
It is, isn't it? And it's also just the comfortability that we saw today was a real confidence booster moving forward, because if you think about games previously where maybe we've gone 1-0 up and then we've just let some slight head loss creep into the game, bad decisions, whereas today there wasn't even really an inch of that.
No, I think you can only beat what's in front of you, and I think today we've seen a really poor Burnley come to the Hill Dickinson Stadium, but Everton have gone about it right. You know, this could have been a difficult game.
Yeah.
You know, all the pressure was on Everton to win the game, playing against bottom of the league. The fans have come here tonight expecting a win. So all credit to the players, because they delivered a win. And they've not just delivered a win, they've delivered a win in such a comfortable manner. It's great going into the little break that they've got now in the Premier League. And hopefully, if they do go away and there's a few days away in the warm weather, it will refresh them, it'll energise them, charge the batteries again, and come back for when we realistically now, we're looking at, we've got a European push for when we come back.
Which is exciting.
It is exciting.
Very exciting. I mean, you mentioned Dwight McNeil there just previously, but let's focus in on him a little bit more, because it could be difficult for him coming back after what he went through in terms of the January transfer window.
Yeah.
But he's shown up today, and he showed up at Newcastle with great confidence. But today specifically, it's so brilliant to see someone like that just come in and put in a performance like that.
Yeah, I'd say before his move that had collapsed going to Crystal Palace, he was probably struggling for a bit of confidence. You know, he'd had a few games and he didn't go the way he would have liked. Fans were a little bit on his back at the time, and to be fair, to come back into the team, give his performance that he did at Newcastle where he was very good, and tonight it was a little bit of a throwback to the old Dwight McNeil that we've come accustomed to. it'll done him the world of good. Coming off to a standing ovation, every player wants that. And I think it's good that the manager's done that as well, because he knows now that Dwight McNeil could be important for the run-in. It's important that every player's fit, but it's important that every player's playing at the top of the game. And rightly so, I would probably give Dwight McNeil the man of the match tonight.
Yeah.
Even though there was a few other contenders, I think Dwight McNeil deserved it, because I'd say he went on some mazy runs, didn't come to anything at the end of it, but his overall play, I thought he looked a threat whenever he had the ball. He looked confident, he looked like he was trying to make things happen, and that's what we want to see.
And when we're pushing for European places, how important is it to have that squad's depth and have players like him who maybe haven't had a run in the team be able to come in and just put in a performance like that?
Well, I think the managers alluded to it over the last few weeks in terms of he's starting to get the players that were injured all coming back now. And I think you look at the bench tonight, you can see how strong it was. That is vital, because yes, the manager's picked an 11 and it is the same 11 from Saturday, but that could easily change in the next game. And I think it's so important as a manager is that when you are coming into this run of games, which is going to be very difficult, there's no doubt about that, it's important that you've got a fully fit squad, because they'll push each other now, and they'll start to, hopefully with Saturday's result, tonight's result, they'll start to believe now that they can do it.
Well, we don't want to think too far ahead, but that's great motivation for some of the squad players as well, isn't it? To think, I could be playing in Europe next season. Let me show you what I can do, especially given that in Europe we're going to have to switch it around more. We're going to have to give lots of players, more squad rotation. It doesn't get better than that in terms of motivation, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I think every player wants to play at the highest possible level. So in world football, the Premier League, I feel is the most toughest league in the world. So that's the highest level in terms of the Premier League. But also they want to play in the European competitions, whether that's in the Conference League, whether that's in the UEFA Cup, or whether that's in the Champions League. Everton have come a long way in a short space of time. Are they ready for European football? Maybe not. But there's no way that the club is going to refuse it. Because go back to last summer, David Moyes, one of the things he said about when we were trying to sign players was that some of the players didn't want to come because we weren't in European football.
Yeah.
Then that changed the narrative now. So if we are in, then suddenly come this summer, players are now say, well, yeah, Everton are in European football. It becomes more of an attractive option for them now.
Well, as much as we're saying, maybe we're not ready for European football, but the way we've progressed throughout the season, because we've had moments during the season where we thought we're definitely not going to be in the European places. Maybe, a top 10 finish, we'll take that.
Yeah.
And it's grown and grown, and the season's gone on and on. So we don't know what this team can sort of surprise us with.
No, and maybe, just maybe Everton are coming into form at just the right time. Because we've seen in the past where teams have a late run. Everton have more or less always been between, for the last few months, between 11th and at times could have gone 6th.
Yeah.
Even at one point they could have gone 4th in the season. But I think where Everton are roughly now is, I think, a fair reflection of where they've been for the whole of the season. So it's now into the final stages. It's the real, I think, important games now, where if you are going to challenge and push for the European place, this is where you've got to show your mettle. These are, as they say in boxing, these are the championship rounds. In them last few rounds, Everton are entering them championship games now, where they've got to try and push for the European place. And if you look at the teams in and around them who are doing it, there's nothing to be frightened of.
And when we look at a game like this, how important is a win like this at home, a routine win? Because when you think about some of those bigger wins we've had away from home, tight wins, they can almost feel a little bit lucky or one-offs. But to then solidify it with a win like this at home, it gives you a bit more of a boost of confidence.
Well, you're seeing the reaction of the fans. And this, we've not, I don't think we've reached the full potential of how intimidating the Hill Dickinson Stadium can be.
Definitely.
You know, so we're still growing into it, our new home. And I think what you're seeing tonight in terms of, you're seeing the fans really right behind the players, giving players who are coming off standing ovations. I think as well as the players getting confidence, the fans have got to get confidence as well coming to home, because the one thing, what we've all wanted to see here, we've not seen enough wins as a home team. Every fan, if you ask them where would you want to see most of your wins, they would always more probably say at home, because you've got your most fans, you're at home, you want to make a fortress. That's, I think it's just been this season, some of our performances have probably not been at the level that we wanted to. And there's reasons for that. You know, moving into this new stadium can take a bit of time. The squad is evolving, the team is evolving. We had a big summer last year. You know, I've always said in the past that I think we are 3 transfer windows, and that's summer windows, from being a top 6 contender. So we've had one and we've still got another 2.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of that 3 years, I think that's when we can judge ourselves of having I'd say a real squad that can compete consistently for the top 6.
I think it's fair to say we had maybe a bit of a dip in performance. Well, fair enough, given, you know, the injuries that we had, players away at AFCON, of course. And tonight, and also against Man United, it seemed like some of those performances that we were seeing at the beginning of the season here at Hill Dickinson were starting to come out a little bit more confident in terms of interchanges, passing, quick passing, and just those flashes of brilliance as well.
Yeah.
Do you think that's just a case of having our players back, and then that can continue in the way that it was continuing before, that little blip around Christmas?
Yeah, I think, Martha, is that when you look at a whole season, players are going to have dips. They're not robots.
Yeah.
You know, they can't just perform at an 8 or a 9 out of 10 every week. They would love to do it, and we would all love to see that. But they're human beings at the end of the day. And see, I say, for instance, if I look at Iliman Ndiaye, I thought Iliman Ndiaye looked tired around December time. You know, and he looks like in the last couple of games, like his levels have gone back up to the Iliman Ndiaye that we've seen. I think Idrissa Gana Gueye, maybe his levels have dropped a little bit, but the last 2 performances again, it looks like he's coming back again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really important. And I think the last break where we had 10 days, that is vital for the players in terms of the manager giving them a few days off. I'm pretty sure they would have got 3 or 4 days off. Get away from football, spend a bit of time with the family, go away if you need to. It just does wonders for you, you know, because they're in every day, they see each other every day. They probably spend more time with the players or the squad than what they do with some of the family. And I think we sometimes forget how important that can be.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to get another chance now to have a few days off. If the manager can get them away, I'm sure he will do. Really important again, a bit of bonding. I'm sure they'll let the hair down in terms of going out for some nice meals, just being together in more of a social environment, and then back again ready to go. Because before we know it, we know we're not far away from the end of the season.
Yeah. Just a little word on Jordan Pickford as well,
Yeah.
because he didn't have to do much all game. But that just sums up Jordan Pickford, because the moment he was called on, despite doing very little all game, he pulls out another world-class save from such close range.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it with his wrist.
Yeah.
It's the strongest wrist I've seen in football.
I know keepers have the wrists strapped, but to have that power, you know, you must have obviously very strong wrists. But I judge keepers. I played with Nigel Martin, and I thought Nigel Martin was top draw. Jordan Pickford is, for me, above that. It's his concentration levels. You know, he's had to do nothing for 90 minutes, and that split second that he's got to react, and that is just a reaction save. You know, the ball's coming towards him, and he's got less than a split second to react, and he's done it again. Am I surprised? No, not at all.
But I think that also summarises how far he's come as a player and as a person, because you look back at the start of his career, and that's where you would say his flaw was just switching off a little bit, not being as focused in the game,
100%,
particularly towards the end.
Yeah.
And now that's just not a worry that we have.
I think that's maturity as well. I think it's experience. I think it's confidence. You know, his confidence is probably at the highest it's been for, I'd probably say in an Everton jersey. You know, and the one thing that he thrives off is that this fan base absolutely adore him. You know, and you can see them singing his name at the end, and he's joining in with the tune, and he's asking for more. A man at the top of his game, and if you've got a Jordan Pickford at the top of your game, it bodes well for the rest of the team.
Yeah, another brilliant win, and we can now hear from David Moyes.
David, well done today. Your team moved the ball well. The midfield were brilliant at times. What pleased you most from your perspective this evening?
Look, I thought we played really well with the ball. I thought we kept it well, moved it well. I thought we recovered the ball well when we had to as well. We backed up from the game we had at St James's Park at the weekend, and it was great to get a sort of back-to-back win as well.
On the midfield, Dewsbury Hall, player of the match today, another great performance from Ghana. How are you bringing out the best of those players?
Well, I think Ghana's been doing exceptionally well for us for many years here. The people here will tell you that but, more than me. I actually think that he's just beginning to get back to his best after the AFCON. I think him and Ellie are just beginning to do a lot better than maybe they were, say, a month ago when they came back. Kieran as well. Kieran came back from an injury, and they're just beginning to get into good form. And Jimmy Gardner's been great all season. And look, him and Jimmy Gardner and Jacob Ryan both had illness, and it sounds like there's a wee bit going around at Newcastle where we just come away from, and today as well. So they've done great to play the game.
It's always good to be playing for something at this stage of the season. You're in with a good chase for Europe. How much are you enjoying that challenge, and how good is it for this club to be back in the conversation for European football?
Oh, well, it'd be amazing if we could even get close, which we are. We're getting close. But I just look back at my time at West Ham, and we were nearly relegated. And the next year we went on to get into Europe, and we've done it 3 years in a row after that. So I think the idea is we want to keep pushing. But I said before, I'm sort of not talking about it anymore if I can help it. But I want to be positive. I want to think that there's a chance that we can do it. I want to think that we're not talking about relegation anymore at the club here, and we're trying to move on.
Say with performance like that, the questions on Europe will keep coming. But another thing, I'm sure you're sick of being asked about the home form. That can at least stop for another week. But an important performance and result here at home in front of the fans.
Yeah, really important. I mean, I keep saying the other away supporters have been treated great. The results they've been getting, we've not been doing quite so well for the home support. So they were with us. They recognised how well the players are doing. They applauded the ones coming off who had put in great work as well, Dwight McNeil especially tonight. So look, great credit to the players. They're keeping going. To win 2 games in the Bows in the Premier League is not easy. We have some big games coming up here at the Hill Dickinson Stadium in the coming month or two before the end of the season. So hopefully everybody will be looking forward to them.
Thank you, enjoy it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later. Thank you.
You know David Moyes very well. Why do you think it is that he's now being quite quiet on talking about European places?
I think he's just shown his experience as a manager in terms of trying to take all the pressure away from the players. Let them just focus on playing football. Don't worry about what's in front of you. If you put the performances in, the results will take care of themselves. As I think David listened to some of our interviews just before in terms of some of the points. I think now he knows when we play the likes of, we touched on earlier, of Man City, Chelsea and Arsenal, or 3 of the teams. We've obviously just played Man United as well. We've got Liverpool and all in between there. You know, so that's 5 of the top 6 as we stand. So that's in itself says how much of a tough run we've got. All the pressures on them. Yeah. If we were to get into Europe, it's a great season because no one expected it. All the pressure is on the other teams when we play them or we go there, because it's expected of them to finish in the top 4 or to be going for the title. So Everton are in a strong position, and they need to just enjoy it, embrace it, because they've not been in this position for a number of years. So don't fear it. Just go and embrace it and enjoy it, because this is where we want to be all the time. So this is hopefully the start of things to come, you know, because it's easier fighting for a Europe playing place rather than trying to stay in the division. I know which one every player would rather have, so it's much more enjoyable doing that at the top than what it is playing and trying to stay in the Premier League. So, as I say, embrace it, enjoy it, give it your best, and if you give it your best, then they'll be very close.
Yeah, well, we're embracing it and we're enjoying it. You can stay tuned to watch David Moyes' press conference just after this on this same stream, but that is all for us today. See you again next time.
forward, aye. What, you want me to go to that one?
No, that one's fine. The one you sat.
Right, okay. Dead high. Aye, okay. I better.
Yep, start off with Chris.
Just, David, nice to have what in the end was a comfortable home win.
Yeah, it was a good win, and we deserved the victory in the end, and scored a couple of good goals to go with it as well.
I suppose it was just once you got the first, that was the key, wasn't it? Once you got the first one.
Yeah, it settled us down because it didn't. I mean, like I'd still like to have created more chances and more opportunities, but in the main we done a good job and kept it control most of the game for pretty good long periods.
David, just a word on Dwight McNeil's performance tonight. You know, he seemed to be involved in everything, didn't he?
Yeah, Dwight done great. Made his pass, his control, his pass for the second goal to get out, and then he was LA to LA. He done really well, and I'm really pleased for Dwight because you know he's probably had a tough time and different things, and just shows you. But I think the difference tonight in Dwight, I think it was very noticeable in his other performances. His other performances were never at the level that he played tonight. So he played much better tonight. And I've been saying he's training better and he's getting more confidence. You know, they nearly gave him a standing ovation coming off tonight, Dwight. So that tells me that everybody in the house is watching him and they all thought he played well tonight, and he did. He done a great job.
And the icing on the cake, being greedy, would have been that goal from Ghana Gay. I mean, you know, what a goal that would have been.
Yeah. Well, I think the likes of Illy and Ghana both done really well tonight, and Kieran Dewsbury Hall, who'd come back from injury, the two boys who are away in AFCON, and obviously Kieran, who had an injury for about 6 weeks. We missed them greatly over around that sort of December and January period, and we couldn't really get any rhythm. The last couple of games we've started to show a bit more rhythm in our football. I'm still feeling that I could do with just getting a bit more a little bit more in the final third, where we think we can maybe create more or make more chances. But look, we're back-to-back wins tonight, which for us is great. Keeps us in a strong position, and you know, up to 43 points. We're, you know, start looking at the next number 5 if we can, and see if we can get to that as quick as we can.
David, you've had some incredible experiences away from home over the last few months, but just how good does it feel, how pleasing is it to be able to give those home fans a win again?
Hey, I've just said a few times, it wasn't the biggest thing that bothered me at all.
No.
Because I think if you look through all the football clubs who moved to new stadiums, you'd see it. And the question's actually been a bit boring over recent weeks, because I think actually we've actually played quite well here, not won, and that can happen in the Premier League. If we don't win, there'll be some manager in the future, and there'll be some great teams here. Hopefully, the supporters here will see some great Everton teams going forward, and hopefully some teams that win trophies as well.
We spoke yesterday about how important Tarkowski is to this side. It was quite fitting in the captain obviously got the goal that got the breakthrough.
Yeah, well, he's always getting stick for me because he never scores.
Is that right?
So tonight he got his goal, and I think he's smiling at me because I'm always on it. I'm saying, you know, you're not scoring enough goals. Yeah. I think to be really good centre-halves need to score goals. It has to be part of the job as well, with the amount of corners and free kicks nowadays.
So obviously Jared Branthwaite came off in the second half. Was he okay?
He was okay, yeah. Just you know, it's probably a lot for Jared to go 2 games in the short time, so we just need to check. But he was a bit fatigued by the end, Jared.
And you've got a little bit of a break now into the next game. Just ask what your plans are and how useful this break is for that squad.
Yeah, we're all going to Glasgow.
Have you got a warm weather camp booked? Or?
Yeah, warm weather training in Glasgow, so that sounds okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cheers.